He is the radio analyst for the Los Angeles Chargers, and his Move the Sticks podcast with Bucky Brooks and NFL Media Group is must listen. He's Daniel Jeremiah. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing great. What's going on, Rich? Great baseball last night, huh?
No, you know what? I was basically saying, DJ, that baseball needs to take the NFL replay model, which is to tell a manager it's not reviewable, too bad, and not go under the headsets to double check a rule. And on top of it, make the umpires announce to the crowd what the hell they're seeing and what ruling they're making, and then just move on.
Yeah, a little more efficient there. I get that, but man, the drama in these games has been outstanding. With the road team winning all these games, it's nuts.
I know we've never seen it before. Let's turn our attention to the trade deadline, in which Aqib Talib I mean, if I had told you the Dolphins would acquire a player as the only major trade, if you will, on deadline day, I'm sure I could have knocked you over with a feather. Why so little movement based on your telling?
Well, I think probably because we had so much movement before the deadline. You know, when you have the Tunsil trade, which was huge, you have the Minka Fitzpatrick trade, you have the Jalen Ramsey trade. I mean, if those all happen on trade deadline, we're beating our chest and saying, man, the NFL trade deadlines is right up there with MLB with all of its excitement. But all those big moves kind of already took place. So there was a lot of discussion, a lot of chatter, but a big fat nothing burger.
Yeah, I know. And were the Jets really? Look, I know you don't speak for Joe Douglas. You're just you're friends with him, and but he was front and center yesterday that Jamal Adams was on the block, and Le'Veon Bell was as well. Joe Douglas went on Michael Kay's show in New York to say he wasn't shopping them; he was just listening. What was happening there, best you can tell?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty normal situation where you kind of say who's untouchable on your team, and he's Sam Darnold, the quarterback's untouchable. You've got a young guy that you believe is the future at that most important position. Outside of that, you listen. So I mean, it's not like he's calling teams saying, "Hey, what do you give me for Jamal Adams?" He gets a call from the Cowboys. They put together what I read was an offer of a first-round pick, which was not nearly enough to part with somebody like that, but you kind of gauge the value of your players. But the fact that he didn't trade these guys tells you what their value is, and I think that's just being a responsible GM. I listened to Joe's press conference yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but he said, "Look, from where I'm from, people call, you listen," and he didn't mention the name, but where he's from is Ozzie Newsome. That's where Joe spent over a decade learning from, in my opinion, the best in the business. The difference, I would say, is that in the Baltimore market versus the New York market, this becomes a much bigger story.
Well, I mean, certainly when it's players like Jamal Adams who then tweeted out that he told the team last week he wanted to stay, and basically put it out there that he felt played. I'm paraphrasing that, but that's. I mean, he basically said the GM went behind my back and shopped me around to teams. Douglas told Michael Kay on the radio, "I don't take that personally." I mean, it does appear to me that this has got to be a Humpty Dumpty trying to put it back together situation, wouldn't you think?
Well, I mean, you saw the other name mentioned was Le'Veon Bell, and you saw his video last night, and saw him and Joe had already had a discussion, and Le'Veon Bell's completely on board. So I know he mentioned that he had not talked with Jamal Adams. I'm sure he'll have a chance to kind of explain the situation, and I would imagine that Jamal will end up feeling differently once he hears how everything took place. But yeah, look, that's you get it's business, man. It's the NFL is a game, but it's also a business, and I understand how players can get upset, and I think that's just a conversation that's going to take place between two grown men, and everything will smooth out and be fine. I mean, look, Rich, if this team was any good and had any wins, I don't think you'd see the frustration level quite where it is right now, really from the owner all the way down to arguably your best player.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. What makes the Patriots defense so damn good in a way that we've never seen it like this, DJ?
Well, I was talking to a GM about this the other day, and we were trying to come up with it. And I think they only have two players on their defense that you would consider top five at their positions. And that's what's incredible to me is Gilmore's a top five player, and you got McCourty, the safety, is a top five player. Outside of that, it's just a great testament to guys, playing exactly where they're supposed to be in the exact same leverage position that they need to be. And then it's just there's nowhere to really go with the football. It's incredible, and they change it up a little bit. I know the zero pressure look against the Jets. They don't do that every single week that heavy, but they find a way to get it done, and it's tremendous coaching. I was having a conversation with somebody else the other day, and we were talking about the Patriots and why don't people emulate the Patriots and what they've done. I said, well, they don't. I mean, everybody talks about Brady and Belichick. Well, you don't have Dante Scarnecchia for one, and you don't have Belichick for two. I mean, that would be the two people that. They are so sound in what they do. It's impressive.
Well, Scarnecchia, you're talking about what? What exactly is it? The game planning?
Taking whatever he has, taking whatever players he has, and not putting them in positions that they can't succeed. In other words, if you've got somebody that lacks a little bit of athleticism,
right,
through technique and through help, you're able to cover that up. Whereas you watch all these other teams, and they've got one weak link, and that weak link gets exposed week after week. That never happens with the Patriots. No matter who's out there, they find a way to put these guys in a position to only do what they can do.
Well, and you got the Sunday night game, and John Harbaugh out of the AFC, if you want to look at it, I mean, the most success in the biggest spots that anyone in the AFC has had against the Patriots, you'd have to circle Harbaugh at the top of that list. An extra week to prepare for this game. How do they have the weaponry and the ability to game plan and change things around in game to take down the Patriots Sunday night, hand them their first loss? Otherwise, if they don't, I think the Patriots have the 1 seed pretty much damn near sewn up.
No, it's going to be an awesome game. And I'll say a couple things here. Number one, whereas, a lot of teams get intimidated by the Patriots, not only are the Ravens not intimidated by the Patriots, they almost relish playing against the Patriots, even though it hasn't always gone their way. Haven't been in that building for some of those games. Like, it was something that they really look forward to. And they felt like they could really punch them in the mouth and see how they responded to it. So they're not going to be intimidated. John Harbaugh's record in primetime games, I think they've won 10 straight. They've been phenomenal there. And then, Brady is not totally dialed in right now. He usually kind of finds his way as you get through the season, even though they're winning all these games. He's not playing his best football. So you kind of add all those factors up. I think absolutely the Baltimore Ravens have a good shot to win this game. And the other point would be the entire league's going to pay attention to what Bill Belichick does schematically to try and slow down and stop Lamar Jackson and this rushing attack, which is on record pace for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm fascinated to see what they're going to do there.
Well, I want to just, before moving on to what's going on with the Chargers and their offense, having moved on from Ken Wisenhunt, just touch on the Brady comment you just made, because Kurt Warner, our buddy, tweeted out an hour ago saying it's almost shocking watching the Patriots offense right now, so out of sync. Looks like a struggle every game, and visible frustration can be seen over and over. What's so different conceptually right now? They have talent, but it seems so difficult. Can't quite put finger on it, says Kurt Warner, who's watching that film. So you two are kind of saying the same thing. What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different words to say the same thing. They're not in rhythm at all. And some of it to me is just their inability to win one-on-one matchups when they get them. And that was the beauty when you had somebody like Gronk, who you had a one-on-one winner. You've got Edelman, who's a one-on-one winner. Right now, there's just not really a lot of separation. So I like to, when you're watching the tape, kind of freeze the tape when Brady gets to the top of the drop and kind of see, okay, what does he have available to him? And they're just not really getting a lot of separation. That's why, to me, my theory on them is, we've seen what they've done with James White, who basically is a wide receiver. They line up in the backfield, and teams try and match him with linebackers, and it's a joke. So it's manipulating a little bit of the position of a player. I think once they get N'Keal Harry back, you're going to see them kind of use their big receivers now with Mohamed Sanu and N'Keal Harry. I think you'll see them start bunching those guys up, and then teams are going to treat them like wide receivers, even though they're darn near the size of tight ends. And you're going to see them just start mauling corners in the run game, and they're going to try and run it down people's throat to another Super Bowl.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show, and Aaron Rodgers and that offense with Matt LaFleur at the controls, and Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. They're doing it without Devontae Adams, who they get back this week. And normally you would say the way to prepare to try and go point for point with the Packers is not to replace the offensive coordinator mere days before. and yet that is what has happened with the Chargers. What gives with letting Whisenhunt go, and who and what happens now?
Well, I mean, I as a scout, like one of your roles or whatever is to be perceptive, right? Mm-hmm. And I've thought of myself that I did a pretty good job in that role. Well, I had breakfast with Ken Whisenhunt on Sunday morning before the game against the Bears, and sat for 30 minutes, and I had no idea any of this was potentially happening. So, in terms of some people saying, what were the signs? Did you see it coming? I did not. I had no idea that was coming. I mean, if you just look at kind of the factors, I think the lack of a run game, especially the last 4 weeks, that's something that needed to get corrected. And I guess, Coach Lynn felt like that change needed to be made to try and get better in that department. But yeah, I did not. That took me by surprise.
So what are we going to see? Who's taking over, and what's the offense going to? How's it going to be any different?
Yeah, well, Shane Steichen's going to call the plays. Who's a quarterback's coach? Who's really, really one of the bright young coaches.
Okay.
The guy who had that role before him was a guy named Nick Sirianni, who's the OC now with the Colts, and I think you'll see him be a head coach soon. I think Shane's really, really sharp, so he'll take over, kind of coordinate the passing game and calling the plays, and they'll go through the offensive line coach, Coach Meyer, to do the run game. And let's be honest, I mean, Anthony Lynn, has expertise is the run game. So I would imagine, I have not talked to him, I would imagine that he'll have a pretty good say and input there on trying to get this run game up and going against the Packers this week.
And the couple minutes I have left with you, Daniel Jeremiah, why is Chris Brockman coming in here every single week, it seems, and telling me that there's a mock draft involving the 2020 draft, and Joe Burrow is mocked above Tua being taken? Why is this? Is this for real that's going on right now? I think, look, nobody's helped themselves more than Joe Burrow has this year. And I watched him over the summer, and then I've watched their first couple games. So I've got to do a lot more work on him. But I think he's definitely got himself into the first-round mix. I thought there was a pretty sizable gap between Tua and him. It would take a lot for him to surpass Tua in my mind. And I've talked to a bunch of guys that have been to both schools on the scouting tour, and I haven't talked to anybody yet that would say they would have Burrow over Tua, but they all will admit, look, nobody's helped themselves more than Burrow. He's playing great right now. Tua's getting hurt affect that, do you think, last couple seasons?
I don't think so. I mean, really, did he even miss a game? I think he got hurt in the SEC championship game last year, right, and ended up coming back.
Well, it helps to have a month
for the playoffs.
It helped to have a month off. That doesn't happen in the NFL.
100%. Well, he just did the same exact injury, and now they have a bye week. But that would look like he's going to miss one game. So even if he didn't have the bye week, you're talking about 1 or 2 games. So when it's all said and done, on the sheet, it's going to show that he missed 2 games in 2 years, which is. I don't know that's necessarily going to ding him too much.
And then, our sisters or brothers at Bleacher Report, Matt Miller, put out a mock draft just today with the Bengals being first overall taking Tua. Put some pieces together from that along with what we just saw with Andy Dalton getting benched, Daniel.
Yeah. Well, look, and everything I've heard talking to people around there was that this is not really anything other than about Andy Dalton's contract and knowing that that's, a decision that they need to make at the end of the year. And they want to find out what they have in Ryan Finley, first and foremost, give him the rest of the season to start, see what he can do, and see if they need to go get their quarterback. Because I'll tell you what, Rich, if somehow you can, Ryan Finley were to, just play lights out and show you that maybe he can be a Gardner Minshew type that way overplays his draft position, and maybe we can move forward with him. Boy, there is a pretty pass rusher in the Big Ten you could go pick up that would be a nice addition to that Bengals team. So they need it. This is an audition. Oh my gosh, that dude is unbelievable.
Chase Young.
So yes.
How unbelievable! Just give me a few seconds on him. How unbelievable!
He's got some Myles Garrett type, freakiness to him when you talk about some of the freaky guys up there at the top of the draft we've seen. So he's got a totally different body type than Nick or Joey. But I don't, Nick Bosa is the best leverage pass rusher I've ever seen. He was the best player in the draft last year, hands down. I thought it was obvious. Chase is just different. He's taller, he's longer, he's got a better get off. He's fantastic. I mean, why an NFL team Rich, has not gone to Larry Johnson, the defensive line coach at Ohio State, and offered him the moon is beyond me.
I'd give them the GPS to go to Columbus to go find him. I would be more than happy to provide that information.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man. I'm telling you what. Like, think about your Jets real quick. Think about your Jets for a second. Let me ask you a question. Let you be the GM.
Okay.
And see what you would do in this situation. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your offensive line is terrible, as you know.
Right.
If you're picking up there, say you're picking 1, 2, or 3, and Chase Young is there.
Yeah.
You have no edge rushers either. This is a fantastic player.
Right.
Do you take Chase Young,
yes,
or do you take a king's ransom to slide back a couple picks and then start addressing the offensive line? What do you do?
I'd take Chase Young. I do not pass on somebody generationally talented like that. No way. And
Okay.
certainly if Tom Brady's going to sit there as a 43-year-old, give him something to think about. And somebody in this division is going to have to go get him. How does that sound, Daniel? That's my answer.
That sounds great. Let me give you the
that to your
perfect way
friend.
you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Is the Jets get the first overall pick.
Uh-huh.
And then you put it up for auction between the two teams behind you, the Bengals and the Dolphins,
yes,
who you know are both taking quarterbacks.
Daniel.
You slide down 1 or 2 spots, you get extra picks, you get Chase
yes,
Young, and it's a very happy holiday season.
I told the Jets a month ago, tank worse than the Dolphins. That's the way you beat your rival. If it's trying to tank, you tank worse than them and go sell to the highest bidder the player that they wanted. I'd love it. You take care of yourself, DJ.
Well, will you send out, do me one favor. If
yes,
the Jets end up with the first pick,
yep,
will you send out thank you cards?
I will. You got it, DJ. You take care of yourself.
Thanks, buddy.
You got it.
Yeah.
Move the sticks.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.